Welcome, everyone. It's good to have an audience, Richard, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Swanton Village Board of Trustees for Monday, September 13th, 2021. First item on our agenda, Pledge of Allegiance bearing in mind all the victims of a 9/11 on anniversary on Saturday. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agenda review. Do we have any additions, changes to our agenda this evening? Executive session. Oh, you go.
Neil?
Yes.
I did.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Executive session says to discuss customer accounts. That's not needed.
You don't need it?
I did update the end.
All right.
Okay, I do need personnel for
Executive session for personnel. Okay. Anything else for the change?
No.
Okay. Public comment. Janet is on the line.
She's
Ready?
still not on. I had problems with the Zoom link, so I had to send out another invite. I sent it to her.
Okay. Well, we can.
Yeah,
okay.
I've contacted her, let her know it was in her inbox.
Okay.
Okay, when she comes on, we'll listen to her, so. Item number 5 on the agenda this evening, approve and accept our minutes from our Monday, August 9th, 2021 meeting.
Did you want to see if there's any other public comment?
Oh, more public comment? Anybody else have it?
No.
Sorry. We had an
Just here?
assigned public
Okay.
comment. There's a public comment. You want to have public comment, Gord? No? Welcome.
That's what you're talking about.
Anything you want. So, okay.
Sorry.
We'll pass that on. So, approve and accept the minutes from our Monday, August 9th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve and accept our minutes from August 9th. Any discussion, corrections?
Well, good.
If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstentions, motion is carried. Item number 6, approve and accept the village warrants through Thursday, September 9th, 2021.
I make a motion to approve these warrants.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve and accept the village warrants through September 9th. Any discussion, questions on the warrants?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
On warrant 79, forgive my ignorance, but what's Vermont Panergy? Third from the
Oh,
bottom.
that's our, where we get the computers from.
Oh, that's a computer company, okay. Thank you. That's all I need.
Computer support.
Okay. Anything else? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, abstentions, okay, that motion is carried unanimously. Item number 7, moving right along. Economic Development Coordinator Elizabeth Nance to discuss the Transportation Alternative Grant.
So I also have Mark Rushlow and Gordon Winters who are on the steering committee, as well as Neil and Reg. So as you recall, we did the scoping study that you approved back in May. So what we would like to do, what I would like to do on behalf of the village, if you approve it, is to apply for the 2022 Transportation Alternatives Grant. I gave you a copy of I gave you an excerpt from the scoping study that shows the short-term and long-term implementation plans. And I asterisked the 3 things from the short-term plan we would like to do, and the one thing from the long term, which is the sidewalk, you know how they talk about moving the sidewalk out in front of Merchants Row. We have another plan to deal with Merchants Row itself. But that would relocate the sidewalk. Then Marble Mill, install the crosswalks in front of the Marble Mill entrance. Implement an all-way stop in front of First Street and Grand Avenue. We would like to do that first, actually, as a demonstration project, or a temporary, just to see how it goes. And then straight bike lanes on Church Street. So the grant amount, the maximum is $300,000. There is not a specified minimum, but when I talked to the program manager, he said they typically don't fund very, like, really small projects. It's like 200,000 to 300,000. So what I tried to do is pick out those things that made sense to do, that got us in the ballpark of 200 to 300,000. So if we did these things that we're suggesting, it'd be 269,000. We would probably go ahead and ask for the 300,000, because this is for design and construction, just so we're clear. So there will be some design work. And we can talk about, when we get to that phase, we can talk about anything that you like. The parking area in front of Merchants Row Stampers, and that was an issue during the scoping study phase. So that's when that will be worked out. We can not take parking from Stampers and the House of Pizza if we want to do that. Those kinds of things would come up during the design and construction phase. But it's based on the general idea that came out of the scoping study. There is a 20% match. I have a call in to the program director because they have 20% of 300,000 being 75,000. My calculator insists that it is 60,000. 25% of 300,000 is 75, but we'll have that discussion with the program director. So I also, the application deadline is not until November 24th, but I did give you a draft that I worked up so far, and I don't mean to be disrespectful having worked on it sooner, but it's actually pretty easy. So you have a draft in front of you of what I've started, just so you can kind of see what we're looking at doing. And just I have it, so I made a copy of it. It's actually pretty simple. So we're here today to ask you for permission to apply for $300,000 with a 20% match, whether that is 60,000 or 75, to apply for the Transportation Alternatives Grant that is due November 24th. There will have to be a public hearing, so we either do that at the next trustees meeting or one in October. I guess, yeah, you do have one before October, that anybody who is interested can put in public opinion, but this is just to ask you to apply for to submit an application on behalf of the village, so we can implement some of those things that came out of the downtown scoping study.
So it does give us 3 to 4 years to get the work done too, so.
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah.
You have to start immediately and get done within the year, or?
So you can figure that the design phase is gonna take 2 to 3 years, and then construction will start in 3 to 4 years. So we're not looking at anything in the
So there's
next-
no real window, it's movable a little bit. There's some flexibility.
So is the design engineering costs included in this,
Will be included in the 300,000.
or just the construction?
Nope, this is design and construction. And it does caution that you have to go to construction. You can't, it's not for design only, it is design and construction. So if you want just design, this isn't what we need to apply for. It does have to include construction. I think, the one thing that was not in the draft study for whatever reason, that really long crosswalk going from the north end of the park to Cody's, I put that in the grant because that's a kind of a cheap fix, and it does need to be shortened. It is way too long. And we talked about during the scoping study, but it is not one of the ones that was listed in the short term in the implementation. So I added 20,000 for that, just for a cushion, so we have some room to play with that. So that was the other one that I added.
Okay.
We'd have 3 to 4 years to come up with $60,000 to $75,000.
Who's the design company?
You would have to go do an RFP and, hire somebody.
Request for proposal.
So we couldn't use VHBs again?
You could, but we'd have to go through that whole process to come up with a design and construct, somebody to basically be a project manager.
Okay, so VHB could submit again.
Correct.
So we could put RFP out before we get the grant, or if we,
I don't believe that it covers costs incurred prior to the grant being
no, but we
awarded.
can request
Yes.
the proposals.
You could request, but any money that you spend for that request would be yours to,
Yeah.
the village's to shoulder.
The most we could do in that case would be ask for, is there any interest out there?
Yes,
We could do that.
yes.
Okay.
Or you could do like a letter of, you could do a request for a letter of intent.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Two things I asked for. Something other than just a stop sign at the intersection of First Street and Grand Avenue. There's gotta be something better than just letting those trucks sweep that corner.
Well, so again, that's part of the design phase, and if you'll look at the picture, it shows, so one.
You got a number 4 stop sign.
Yes.
That's it.
That will come as part of the design phase. And they do have that crosswalk back a bit. And we argued, several of us on the steering committee argued that crosswalk wasn't far back enough. That's where the stop bar would be, right behind that, crosswalk. And she said, she ran the turning radius, and she said there's actually plenty of room for a truck to turn even with the crossbar that close, the stop bar that close. So that's, I mean, if you look, the long-term solution to that is $320,000 to do the long-term implementation. So if we wanted to do that by itself, we could do that. Which would be, shifting.
My solution to that is a bypass.
I know, but that's a long-term, probably not gonna happen
know.
in our lifetime, so this is
Well, it
something.
needs to be mentioned though. We gotta
Well,
keep talking about it.
I know, and remember, this is just an excerpt,
Okay.
based on what was discussed, and so this is kind of what was approved with your addition of really wanting to talk about the bypass. So I thought it made sense to do some of the quicker things, which include, that's why I picked the 5 areas, because I think they're all important, and I think they'll each make a difference, in the short term, while we then look to implement some of the long-term solutions that are gonna be more expensive to do.
Didn't we have issues with V-Trans as far as wanting to put the 3 stop signs up already?
Because they wanted the design and construction phase first. I jumped the gun.
Yeah, but we were very upfront with them saying we wanted to try this out, because if it doesn't work, we're not gonna do it.
Which is, if you could do what you want, but I wanted, well.
That's what I wanna hear.
Well, we were looking for some guidance, and the only way they would give guidance is if we did the design and construction. You can go without them, but the only way they were gonna get involved is if we had the design phase done first. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
and that's,
So even to do an experimental, we would have to have it designed first?
If you want V-Trans input. If you don't want V-Trans input, then you take what you get and you're on your own. But if you want V-Trans input, we have to go to design.
I like that.
Politically, if we go without V-Trans input, or is that a black mark against us?
I don't think so. My only concern would be, and I don't know, anybody who knows the best way to mark them, and I don't know, Chief, if anybody has the knowledge. I would just be slapping up stop signs, and I wouldn't necessarily know, based on the configuration, but it made sense to me to have like traffic engineers in there who could say this is the best way to do it. That's why I asked V-Trans, and they said, no, you have to have design first before we get involved. But do you wanna put up some temporary stop signs or stop bars? Because it's a class 1 town highway, they can't tell you you can't. It's just, I worry that you may do some harm by accident. Maybe that's a bad pun, but just trying to do good can cause more trouble than it's worth. That's why I got V-Trans involved in the first place.
The fact that it's Grand Avenue and it's US Route 7, V-Trans has to be involved before you can put a stop sign up. Because if V-Trans is not involved and you put a stop sign up, law enforcement has no regulatory authority over that because it's a state. It's just, the state holds the right for stop signs and speed control on US Route 7.
I think we should heed that advice. I had another question. Is it possible that Vermont would say, we're not gonna help you with any aid in the future if we go on our own? Somebody should explore that.
They're doing that about the bridge, so.
You wanna say something, Gordon?
I didn't hear what Gene, if you don't what?
Involved the
If we don't involve the state in the planning phase and all that sort of thing, will they deny us any aid in the future for the maintenance of the road?
Probably.
What I was gonna say earlier is, these short-term and long-term implementations came from a few months ago, the report that you approved that we, spoke about, a few months ago at the meeting. I think where we're now, so that was done, approved. Now we're looking at these 5 different things that need to go to the design process to further vet them out. Like right now, all we have is, if you were building a house, we have the picture of the house, but we don't know how to construct it. So I think the next phase is the design phase, where then they'll go out and actually measure what we have. They'll measure curbs, they'll measure the roads, they'll measure where the parking fits, they'll measure how the stop signs work. Right now, when VHB did this, it was more like, here's a picture, here's what we
An overlay.
think will work,
Yeah.
but not to the detail where we could build something from it. Now, this next phase would be like going to an architect or engineer that will tell us, hey, here's how what you drew can fit into your actual plan. So I think that's a good way to summarize what the design phase is. And
Yeah.
Elizabeth's asking for, well, part of what Elizabeth's asking for here tonight.
Are you suggesting that the state be involved in that design phase?
I think they
They'll have to
certainly
be.
would after, I think what the state said is they won't look at a plan like this, like a builder won't build a house from a picture, they need more detailed blueprints. I think what the state is saying is, in order for us to weigh in, we need actual design documents, not just the picture that VHB drew.
Yep.
So I think that's probably what the state is saying when they say they won't get involved until the design phase.
And what are the odds that they change it all over on us
Yeah,
after we
that's-
spend all this money?
You wouldn't dare.
No, they wouldn't.
That's a concern.
I didn't know, I thought that on number 3, Elizabeth, the back-in parking, is that in front of, I thought they did away with that in the last meeting.
No, it was still in there. But I think because they kind of strongly recommended that we do that, so it was left in there, but you notice we didn't take that.
We did, number 3 was just restriping and trying the back-in.
Yeah, I didn't select that one because I figured.
Oh, the stars are what you selected?
The stars, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I think some of this might change anyways if we get somebody that knows the rules and regulations and measurements in there for the design phase. And they know what the state expects and what they can give us that we can work with the state. They should be able to. That's why we're hiring somebody to do the design work, so.
But yeah, because this is what's feasible, but it doesn't necessarily mean what's gonna happen.
Right.
but I think it's a good blueprint. It gives us some ideas what to do and some costs associated with it, so we could kind of pick and I did. I picked what kind of made sense, based on the short term and the long term, and I do think, I picked one long term, because I think we'll be coming to you hopefully soon, with some ideas for Merchants Row that will build upon the sidewalk. But that's a discussion we'll bring for another day when we have some more information. So that's not in a vacuum, that's with some other plans that we're working on for Merchants Row.
And the estimates came from our plan, from P.E.G, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think, if you look at VHB's design, they had thrown out the roundabout and it just didn't fit into the blueprint of that area.
Right.
So that was taken away. I think the nuts and bolts are here. Now it's just gonna be the measurements. You put, your stop bar back so many feet from the corner to allow tractor trailer turn and that kind of stuff. So I think the nuts and bolts are here. It's just now the measurements and all that stuff from the engineers.
Is there any opportunity to use any of the CBDG money?
That's infrastructure, and I'd say that's, not sure. I'd have to ask Lynn to go back through and check that out again.
Okay.
Since the last I know, we still haven't gotten final federal guidance yet. So I think that we still don't know exactly the nitty-gritty of what's.
Okay.
Yeah, but we've got the CBDG funds, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. You
Yeah.
said CDBG, I heard ARPA.
Oh,
What's,
No.
Yeah, CBDG money. I'd have to ask Lynn, like I said.
okay.
We have some infrastructure money in
what's the,
CDBG. Community Development Block Grant.
Okay.
Because we could revolve that, we could use it.
but the COVID money, or what do you call it,
ARPA?
ARPA, is infrastructure, correct? That's
But
supposed to be.
it's not like we can't pay the road with it, so we're waiting on the final guidance to know exactly what we can. But if you have any wastewater that needs to go in the village,
If you've been down Grand Avenue lately, you see water work right now.
And I think that's a good point Adam makes, that would make sense of both of those.
this grant came up and I thought the timing was great.
When to do?
November 24th, so it's largely done. And again, I didn't mean to be presumptuous, I just had some time and it was pretty easy, so I started it. If you elect not to, and I do feel really strongly that if you're comfortable with 60 to 75,000 over the next 4 to 5 years, then we can get this long-standing project actually moving, because I think we have talked about it for years, and I think it'd be nice to get some of this stuff going.
Is this something we can give decision on at the next meeting without issue?
No, because again, it's not due till November. The only thing to keep in mind is we do have to do a public hearing in October, so we'll just have to watch the
Right.
timing, but you do have the next meeting. Yeah.
What would the public hearing be on these?
It would be basically this, but just saying, here's what we wanna do, and it would be, published as a public hearing, and anybody could come to input. Kinda like they did at the last political concerns meeting.
Okay.
Is it possible that at a public hearing you get information that would change the application?
No.
I shouldn't be shaking my head, but keep in mind, this is all based on the feasibility study.
Yeah.
Which we wouldn't necessarily relitigate that because that's already been approved. So, there could be some discussion about why don't we do number 6 instead of number 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
But, we wouldn't go back and say, well, we want the roundabout, because that's already been,
Determined.
thank you. So.
So Lynn says the CBDG money, from what she sees, is earmarked for water, sewer, sidewalk infrastructure.
So it would do sidewalk. Because Merchants Row is a sidewalk. Would that include a crosswalk?
I would
Good
guess, yeah.
question.
Crosswalk's pretty easy. And it's a loan, not a grant, so we have to pay CBDG back, so.
Right. But it shows that we're revolving it, so they're not gonna come after us.
So you'd have to coordinate that money with this money,
Yeah,
Yeah.
try to get the project done all at the same time.
Are those federal funds or state funds?
CBDG, their community block grant,
I know that, are
but
they
that's a
federal or state?
really good question.
Because if they're federal, you can't touch, you can't use it.
I think that's,
And they're HUD funds, so that's a no.
Seemed to me, I thought they were state.
I think that's a state
Yeah.
grant. We got one for the Swanton School in the very beginning,
But it's through HUD,
CD.
but it's through HUD. It comes from the state, but they are HUD funds, and that's federal. Lynn can correct me. Oh, because you
it
may
is,
be right.
it is federal.
Okay. So that would be a no. So think about it. Let me know if you have any questions.
So you need a motion tonight to move forward with this?
No, you can wait till the next meeting if folks would like to think
Why
about it.
would you wanna wait?
I think it's a great opportunity to take that next step.
Yeah.
Before we've been to where we are now.
That's why.
Yeah, I see that, I wrote that, I got the same note. That's what the
So I
gentleman.
just don't wanna miss the boat. If we're gonna approve it this meeting and give us a little buffer, or are there more questions? I mean, we've already got the study going, we don't
We'd
wanna
have
miss
to get Lynn involved.
the next step. So,
Like,
it's up to you.
You have, again, it's not due to the 24th, so if you had a public hearing, the first or second meeting in October, that gives you the next meeting to say yea or nay. You need 15 days to warn, and I think we would have 15 days. Either way, if we did the second meeting in October, you have 15 days to warn, so we have time. I wanted to get it in front of you so that you can make a decision, because it is. Or we could request 269,000, which would make your match less.
Well,
Thank you,
a little
because
bit
I was
less.
gonna try to figure that out in my head, and that's never a good
Yeah.
exercise. So,
I mean, we could argue we've already approved the designs last time, right?
We did.
I'm just,
Are we bringing in more information next meeting? Like, are they gonna talk about more at the next?
well, it would,
I'm just seeing that.
right, I mean, it would be basically the same information.
No, nothing's changed.
Just
No.
need more time to think about it.
Be the same information, because nothing's changed.
Correct.
Well, that's
The
true.
only discussion will be after the design study starts. I mean, there might be some changes after that.
I think we should bring
But
this out now.
We've got the scoping studies presentation here, that's where we're going from. And just, if there's any questions, just clarify that, I'd say.
I'm for the project, I don't know how we're gonna, do we have 60 to 70,000?
I think
just-
that has to be brought. And.
That's
and
my
studied.
only concern right
So
now.
it'd be about 15,000 a year, if my math is right. And I'm not
Mhm.
making I'm not saying you do or you don't, I'm just saying it'd be about 15,000 a year.
No,
And
I
I think-
understand.
And I think we should talk to Lynn about that and see where we're gonna get that. Because we don't have $15,000 to give you right now.
Fair enough.
I don't even have 5,000.
Fair enough.
So we could nix the project and sit on our hands and hope something else comes along the pipe.
No, it's not what I'm saying. I just wanna be comfortable that we can come up with the money. That's all. I'd like to have the conversation with Lynn and, if she says we can do it, over a 4 or 5 year period, then let's dig tomorrow.
We may have to ask voter approval.
And we may,
That depends on what.
but that
we-
would be the public forum, right?
Right,
Yeah.
She's just asking, to apply for the grant, right?
right.
But if
You need the money, I know, but you need $15,000 a year.
a year.
Approximately, that's fine.
Yeah.
So we'll ask Lynn about the money
Yep.
and then approve it next, well, vote on it next meeting.
Can we do a tentative approval with the caveat that as soon as we determine that we can, in essence, afford it, we'll go for it?
Oh, it'll go into the public works budget, so.
I guess it would.
15,000 a year doesn't seem like an insurmountable sum.
I just don't, she would know what the percentage is on the tax base for that.
And that's what I'd like to find out.
Okay.
So, and then we can do our thing next meeting and move ahead from there.
Guarantee we're gonna do it next meeting.
So,
Is Lynn on?
So I do have one other thing.
Reggie,
Oh,
Gordon says there's.
No, I'm just wondering if Lynn's on the finance, but for 15,000 a year, projects are coming in front of you all the time, how we couldn't come up in the village's budget for $15,000 to apply for a grant that might be we've all talked about the traffic study, or the traffic problem in downtown Swanton for as long as I can remember. Now we're at a time where we've done the next study that we've probably done 5 of over the past 20, 30 years. Now we have time, now we're to the point where we might do something. There's gonna come a time where we're gonna have to either say, yes, we'll do it, or no, we won't, because if we can't come up with $15,000 in a year, it's gonna be real, the next step is gonna be a lot of more, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's where I was going when I
like
say.
it's either gonna be, and I'm
Well, we'd
not
have to-
criticizing it, it's
No,
just,
I'd
have to
you
put
know,
it
it's
in the
just
line
like,
item.
if we don't do this part, if we're gonna struggle with coming up with this part, it's gonna be really hard once we spend that money, do the design, then the next time someone's in front of you, it's gonna be for something really.
and I mean, Lynn's very good at what she does, and I just wanna know. I just wanna know.
What'd you say, Reg?
It would have to be a separate line item to be voted on.
Is that information from Lynn?
I'm getting it now.
I think that's exactly what he's getting at. I think it would have to be a line item
Yeah,
in
to
our
add
budget.
$15,000 to the public works
And,
or the highway budget.
and the voters have the say.
So
We
what I
don't.
would suggest humbly is that you apply. The award goes out, I don't know if I printed that part, the award is, I believe, in November, December. You don't have to take the money.
Well, that obviously, it was a question some people may have. Is that November, December of this year?
Correct, but now that, so then you go through the whole design and all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
you go to the voters,
Mark,
you could go to the voters in March, and they say no, then we say, we don't want the money.
We don't have to upfront 15 grand, do we,
No.
to apply for
So
a
what you
grant?
would do is put it in the budget for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
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 And
Yeah,
if it's
if you get the
16,000,
grant.
If
so
you
on.
get the grant. Yes. But, right.
But I think we can go ahead, just my personal opinion again, I think we can go ahead with the grant
Yeah.
application.
Just same thing the town did with the sidewalk, just like, put in for the grant, we got it, then we put it, budget into, for our portion.
Because we can always say no, and after the voters check on this, we can say no. I mean, they will say no.
Do you vote on every matching grant? Do you vote, is there a line item?
We don't,
for every-
it doesn't always go to
Because
the
it's
public,
public
but
works,
we,
right?
obviously, we vote.
I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, if you have a grant for, Marble Mill, and you have to, match $10,000, is that a line item every time in a?
No,
like,
I don't
How about
know.
if you had, when's the next vote, Mark?
Yeah. Well, you can
So-
have special meetings, Sean, but they cost a lot of money too. I would say that if it's in the area of a couple $1,000s, I think Lynn can find a way to put it in the construction part of a budget or what have you. But when you start talking about something over $5,000, which is in the back of my mind, you have, especially something special, you better get voter approval. Anybody disagree with that?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have surplus funds for the year, sometimes
Yeah,
projects didn't
occasionally.
happen, but. if-
Usually it's not 15 grand though.
Yeah,
Well, and it depends on what you're trying to fund too, somewhat, on whether you have to get voter approval.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's true. That's true. And there are rules and regulations on what you do with money and what you get approval.
that's why we wanna ask Lynn, right, Adam?
Right.
So,
Well,
And then we can come back and work our magic next meeting.
yeah. No, I don't wanna lose sight of this.
No, I think it's important. I just,
This
What do you
is
think,
This is the
Chris?
first concrete,
Actually,
it's a
I,
pun, but first concrete proposal we've had.
Yeah.
I mean, for the downtown traffic flow
yeah.
that works, so, I hate to lose it by just waiting around.
actually, my thought is I understand where Adam's coming from. But I think we should move forward now, only because we need to show that we have,
I'll come in.
we've put a significant amount of thought and input into this thing already. And I don't want it to be, look like we're trying to hold this project back. It looks like we have a really good safety net, in that we don't have to take the money, we have
Yes,
other
I
pieces
agree.
that go along. It's not a large sum of money, $20,000 a year is not chump change, but we've had to deal with bigger amounts than that before.
Oh, sure.
So my thought is, I won't make the motion without you guys not shooting me, but that we should go forward now would be okay.
I think I'm leaning that way myself, because I would either make the motion or second one to move ahead, because we can always pull back. And I think that's critical. I think the timing is important. I think the timing is important for those that are working on the grant. And it won't hurt us if we say no, or if somebody else says no.
I mean, you can make a motion to go ahead with the project, with the bounds that, Lynn okays the funding.
Oh, I like that word.
Well, it still has to go, you're saying though, if Lynn approves the funding, it still needs to go to voter approval in March.
Well,
Oh, yes.
That's what we don't know.
we're not absolutely sure of that, but I suspect it. I wanted you to make sure that you know, though.
May I ask a question? So if Lynn says, no, we can't afford it, then what do we do?
Ask the voter.
Well, that's what I mean, either way, you still gotta go forward.
Yeah, so we're still gonna go ahead with the project
So-
anyway,
so
like Gordon
Lynn-
was saying.
Yeah, Lynn not saying yes or no, but Lynn would be, she would go through the budget and see what it would add to that line item in
And
Public
she,
Works.
and she could check the legal aspects of this thing with
Yeah.
League of Cities and Towns and others, and to find out what's the best way to handle it. And I wouldn't be afraid at this point to make a motion with that understanding.
assuming we have that loophole,
We do. I believe we do.
I would go along with it.
Then I'll make the motion at this time to approve your grant process, and with some of the other contingencies that Neil put in, pending other information that we'll pull out when we have to, if we have to.
And I would second that.
Okay, the motion has been made to move forward with the grant application, and consult with Lynn about future funding, possible funding. Is that kind of what you mean, or?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's how we would do fund it.
We were pending the correct way of handling the money.
I put pending the financial approval by the village controller.
Right.
Because
That
she's gonna-
sounds-
she's
that
gonna guide
sounds-
you.
I'll amend the motion to say it that way, that's fine.
Is that okay? Because she'll guide you
Yeah.
guys on how.
And that
will
fits,
be.
that fits
That's
your
the word I
minutes
was
pretty
looking
good
for,
too.
pending.
You know, it might need a voter approval, it might not.
We
And I'll
don't,
just
we're
put
not
budget.
sure. And
So
she could
let's-
study it further, and
Yeah. So
that's what she's here for.
And we have
Okay.
the opportunity to pull out if necessary, which we hope that never happens.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Okay, that's the motion, we have a second. Any more discussion on this?
No, not tonight.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstentions, none, unanimously approve the motion. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So,
So I have one other unrelated topic, the Riviera Hotel. We've been waiting, so as you know, we applied for Brella funds. We're in the Brella program. We applied for Brella funds to fund the phase two assessment, which what it does is to use Gordon's analogy. The phase one takes the snapshot. Phase two will actually go in and phase one says it's possible that you have contamination here, here, and here. Phase two will go in and actually do the research to say yes or no, you have contamination here, here, and here. Phase three cleans up anything that phase two has found. So we've done phase one. We requested funds through the Department of Environmental Conservation's Umbrella program to fund the phase two assessment. I got an email Friday. They had their meeting. They are in favor of funding in part the brownfield assessment. That's not a surprise to me because she told me KAS did the phase one assessment, and there is a part of the phase one assessment that the Brella program just doesn't pay for. So Brella will pay for that part that they can pay for, but they won't have, and I'll finish about the other part here in a minute. The issue is, if it is an issue, that they won't have the funds until October. So we could potentially, what they'll do is, they will fund their part, remember it was 30,000 and change. They will fund what they will fund and do a mini RFP, and that basically means that they go out to, they have a list of approved people, consultants, and they will do an RFP to them, and it will probably be KAS because they've already started on the project, and will then carry out the phase two. Okay? So now you're saying, wait a minute, you said they will only fund part of the phase two. Northwest Regional Planning has money that should fund the rest of it. So the village should not be on the hook for any of the phase two.
That's good news.
Yes. So, it's been a while. They didn't have a July meeting because I think it fell on the 4th of July. And then they didn't have are we in September? Yes, they didn't have an August meeting because I don't think they had a quorum. So we've been waiting for them to have a meeting, and they had one on last Monday. So the issue just will be when drawing down the funds in late October, early November, which is not really great timing because winter will be setting in. But I've asked her what the next steps are, so then I'll reach out to Greta about the funding, the remaining portion. Once I know the dollar amount that DEC is gonna provide, then I can ask Greta for the remaining part to fund the rest of it. But she has said she has the funds.
That's helpful.
So
When do you
the
think
goal
we,
here, phase two, whatever they find, we can actually remove the building?
That
No.
would be phase three during the cleanup. So
when can we do?
It's gonna be a while before that building comes.
phase
down.
two,
Yeah.
phase two tells you what you have to remove before you can tear the building down.
Yeah, no, when can we do phase two? Just
As soon as
come
we
right
get the
down to
money
it.
from DEC and Northwest Regional Planning. So, I don't know because like there's ash in the basement, there's that storage tank that nobody seems to know exactly where it is, so it may not actually exist. Like, they may find that there's no storage tank.
Yeah, that's
So we
right.
don't have to do any corrective action on that. They may find the ash is just ash, and I don't know what you do to remove ash. Now, the asbestos may be an issue, because we're assuming there's asbestos because of the age of the building. That would be a corrective action for phase three.
Sure.
So once we get that corrective action done, then the building can come down.
So it sounds like maybe next spring.
Yes. For phase three,
That's what I'm getting at.
yes,
So it could be a year from now.
Unless it
But
falls
it-
down in the winter.
unless it falls down in the winter, yes.
Hey, wishful thinking.
Or Or Berlin, yes, I'm not.
Well, Mark, you raise a point. Is there a possibility that we could accelerate this issue by the fact that it's a safety hazard?
I can ask the question, but
Please.
because we're in the Umbrella program, then if we, I think that may limit what you can do to that building, but I will ask.
It's,
Maybe the phase two engineers won't wanna go into it, cause they're afraid it's gonna fall on them, which it might.
I was gonna say that
They
thing
say,
is,
what, well, why don't you knock it down and we'll dig through the ashes?
So then,
Anyway.
there you go. But I can certainly ask the question. But
It-
it looks
it's
like
worth-
the phase two will be funded, so that's money that you guys won't have to come up with, or the taxpayers won't be on the hook for.
And as long as we're talking about the Riviera Hotel, I told you guys that I was gonna have Gabri go in. Well,
Yeah.
got Gabri approved, or he had a family tragedy, so he hasn't been in, but I talked with him this morning, and they're supposed to go over and start cleaning by the end of the week, so.
get rid of some trees.
So that's good news. And then I plan on getting an excavator in there after they get the trees out of the way, just to kind of scrape, clean up around the outside, so we don't have any more hypothetical toxins in there. But, I mean, that's perfectly legal, but just clean it up a little bit so we can see that something's getting done over there anyway, so,
And clean it up a little bit so they can do phase two.
yep.
Well, there's two questions. What can we do, is it a safety hazard for somebody to go in there, because the ash is in the basement? So,
They think,
something's in the basement,
yeah.
let me
That's,
rephrase that.
like you said, phase one, like Gordon says, was hypothetical. They were guessing what's in there. There was a foot of ice on the floor, and they said there was coal ash underneath the ice. So we'll see what happens on phase two.
Yeah, and again, it may just be nothing, but we'll find out during phase two. So-
I think there's coal ash underneath my driveway.
And that's it for me.
I think once you get through the phase two, we'll relieve all doubts, they'll know exactly what's there, and they can't tell what the ash is or what's in the ground now, but they'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
'cause it-
And the only thing I caution is, I would ask her, you mentioned asbestos, and I think that's usually a separate not in the phase two study. I think it'll be a separate lead, and asbestos would be a different study that they would do concurrent with the phase two, so that might be just something that you ask to make sure that they're doing that as well, because that would be another
Okay.
separate.
Yeah, that's what they suggested in phase one.
Cleanup.
They said there was
Yeah, they probably know there's asbestos there, so you'll have to, but someone will have to go in there and actually test the type of asbestos, where it is, if it's in ceiling tile, if it's in floor tile, if it's around caulking, chimneys, and things. So that's usually a separate study, but they would wanna do that concurrently, because when you do the cleanup, you would want, someone will have to deal with the asbestos before you get to the demolition part of
Yeah.
that. So Greta will know everything, make sure that that's, just check that off your checklist to make sure they're doing that. But it will take a lot longer than you think usually, and they'll ask for a lot more things than you want, but I think when you're done, and then the next thing is that they'll give you, then the engineer will come up with a corrective action plan that will tell you exactly how to clean the building and what to do, once you get to that point.
We are slowly making very slowly making progress. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, Janet, still on.
What?
The public comment, Janet.
Oh, okay, Janet's on. Okay, go ahead, Janet, you'd like to say something under public comment?
getting tall.
Okay, hang on a sec.
Hold on.
Hold on, we can't quite hear you yet.
maybe you could pull it up and hear her. Could you?
No, because
I
I
don't
think it
think
can't
so.
be.
No, probably not.
Should be hearing her.
Do you know this lady?
Is
No.
she unmuted on her end or what's up?
Yeah, she's on, hang
Certified?
on. Hey, Janet, give me a test.
Test, 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 test.
There you go. Okay, have at it.
Good
Okay,
evening, everyone.
good evening.
Hello, Janet.
I'm coming to you this evening as a Swanton Arts Council board member. We are hoping to have our holiday craft show on Small Business Saturday. And I was wondering if the space that you guys are currently sitting in would be available for 2 to 3 crafters to be in. We're trying to spread it out between various positions so that we are within COVID restrictions, but our local artists and craftspeople get the chance to have a sale this year.
When is the craft show proposal?
When
This would
did
be
you,
November 27th, sorry, Small Business Saturday.
That doesn't mean anything to me. November 27th, I'm down in
Yes.
business.
It's a Saturday,
27th?
Saturday after
did
the,
you wanna
after
use the
Thanksgiving.
hall for a couple hours? Is that-
Like 4 to 6 hours if possible.
Oh, 4 to 6 hours.
So November 27th,
Yes. We have a couple other business people willing to allow a couple crafters into their spot. So we want to create a map of where people can go to see the artists and purchase from them. We're trying to spread it out so that we're able to have the craft show for our local artists, but keep everybody safe.
so we haven't had any, other than business meetings, trustees meetings, DRBs, the school to come in and do meetings, we haven't opened it up to the general public for anything like that yet.
So we probably ought to check with that before, check on that before we give her the go-ahead or?
And, yeah, probably. I mean, we haven't done it. We've been hesitant about opening it back up to the public because after we went through and painted everything, we saw the damage that was done
Yeah.
and what little we rented to build the space out for. Really didn't help cover what repairs we had to do
Yeah.
and fixes we did.
So,
I mean, it's completely up to you folks. I mean, I've been talking with people from the Department of Health about the variant and, you know, if they were gonna have to use this space again for testing.
yeah,
They said so far, no,
okay.
but, I don't know. Joey, what do you think?
I mean, you know, based on the, you know, the guidelines for COVID currently are all over the map. And that's basically because the state lifted their declaration of emergency, so it's now just guidelines that are, you know, every public portion of health is putting out a different guideline, and it's kind of confusing people. But the concept that I'm just hearing of spreading out the number of artists and vendors throughout different businesses and different communities would definitely leave the area fairly safe for the transmission of COVID-19. You know, from the COVID-19 standpoint, the way they're describing they want to do the process would be safe for this space.
If we allow it, I wouldn't want anything on the walls.
What's
I
that?
would not want anything on the walls.
I wouldn't want anything on the walls ever.
So,
So,
I mean, you're getting a lot of requests, so if you're gonna allow one, you're gonna have to allow everyone that's asking. And we've been saying no. So I just wanna, where do you,
So we've
say
been,
yes and say no.
We
we've
have
been
to
getting
start.
requests for birthday parties, baby showers, again, that kind of
All
stuff.
kinds of stuff, shows,
People
weddings,
tape things up.
receptions, and everything.
It's gotta be done safe.
It's gotta
Much as
be,
I hate to say it.
we have to start sometime too.
Yeah, right.
So when do you absolutely need to know, Janet?
We're in the process of discussing it. I haven't opened it up to crafters yet because we haven't set. Would next meeting be too early for you to discuss it? That's what, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
That'd be all right.
We can do that.
Yeah, we can,
Thank you very much.
we can find out if there's any glitches that we've gotta address, before our next meeting and then let you know
I
on
think you
that.
want to draft a new set of guidelines, is that what you talked about, right?
Yep.
So, we have to work on that.
Yeah, okay. But we'll find out and let you know, by.
All right, as far as walls or anything, the crafters have their own displays. Nothing would be anywhere near the walls.
Okay.
Well, that goes for
That's
everybody.
good. Yeah, so, okay, well, we'll find out before the next meeting and, let you know, so,
Okay.
okay?
I thank you very much for listening, and you gentlemen have a good evening, as well as you ladies.
Okay, you too.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Janet.
Janet. Have a good one.
So, yeah, it's kinda, haven't opened it up for anybody else and
When is Thanksgiving this year?
25th.
November.
25,
I know, but this is November 27th.
25.
Is that?
That is Thanksgiving weekend, yeah. That would be Thanksgiving weekend.
That doesn't seem like a good mix.
So, anyway.
Actually, a great mix.
It's 2 months.
When do they normally do,
But people are
Operation Happy?
traveling, they're not here. Thanksgiving.
Okay, moving right along. Number 8, Swanton Village Police Department update. Chief Stell, I guess you're gonna enlighten us on that.
Yeah, I'll try. We'll see how that goes, if it's enlightening, the enlightenment or not. So for the month of August, find my notes here, so I don't forget. Let's do it this way. We handled 185 complaints for service in the village of Swanton. During that same time frame, we stopped 18 vehicles and issued warnings. The majority of those vehicles stopped were Spring Street, Canada Street, First Street. Just about all of them were on those streets and issued warnings. Then we also did another 6 vehicle stops that resulted in traffic citations. Those were 4th Street, North River, the first part of North River in the village, Spring Street, Canada Street were the locations for those. We issued, the total fine amount for those traffic citations was $1,640. So the officers have stayed real busy throughout August. It's been a pretty busy summer with a wide variety of types of complaints that the officers have been handling. With that said, as of technically Sunday morning at midnight, we were one of the agencies that was switched over to the new Velcor record system from the state. So officers are still troubleshooting and learning the new system. What's really nice about the new system, and obviously the stats for September are gonna be really messed up, because we gotta use 2 systems, the old system and the new one to really pull stats. But when we hit October, November, the types of reports that we're able to produce are much more robust, is probably the best way to put it. It literally helps track officer time, how much time they spend on writing up cases, how much time they spend on the scene of calls, how much time they spend on traffic. So you can get a real good snapshot of where time is spent and where time can actually be improved on. So for example, if Officer A spends 4 hours writing up a typical DUI where everybody else is spending 2 hours writing it up, then you can start having a conversation. How do you speed up Officer A to get him in line with the 2 hours? Is it because he's having difficulty typing and maybe needs, some education on how to better type? Or is he struggling with, or she struggling with something else that you can fix so that you get more productivity out of officers? So those are gonna be some really nice features of the new system. What's happening with this system is the Spillman system that we were currently on was a system that was built in 1994. And they, took patches and patches and patches to make the system work. So you're using really 1994 technology in today's world. The Crosswind system, which is the manufacturer of the Velcor system, it's a 2017 system. So it's only a few years old. So it's using modern technology. It's cloud-based. It's cheaper for us to run. So we'll see a budgetary savings of a few $1,000s over the next couple of years because the system is so much cheaper. Our licensing fees and stuff are down quite a bit. So it's other than the learning curve for officers of new software, they're liking it because it's where you're having to type everything out, you can touch and click and fill in boxes and bring material in from other sources much easier to do paperwork. So it should save time, should keep officers out on the road more, and all of those things. So our processing time should be cut down. But we got to see that and be able to run those reports to figure out where we can map out.
Got a question.
Yep.
First off, I fully support the police department. My constituents support the police department. But what they want to know is what are the crimes that are being committed,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not we're catching the perpetrators,
Mm-hmm.
and whether or not they're getting convicted. Those three things are what people care about.
So two of those.
Will this new system give us this? Because I've asked for that data, and it doesn't seem like it's available. Will it be available in the future?
So 2 out of the 3 things this system will do. Under the old system, we literally would have to manually go in and check every case, read everything to figure out those 2 things. The only thing that the new system will not track is conviction. That is, we don't put conviction information into our system. Because convictions, and the problem with that is if I arrest John Smith today for DUI, that case might not get resolved for 18 months.
Yeah.
Which means that, we're having to backtrack 18 months, so that data is not readily available.
Well,
What we can
I
easily
can
track
visualize
is,
that, but I would think you would just put pending, because other police departments have that data. At
they
least
don't
tell
have
me.
conviction data.
But they get it.
But the problem is conviction data for anything is gonna be, it's not gonna be timely. We're looking at, we're getting dispositions on cases today from 2 years ago.
Fine. Just put pending. But every once in a while, chase it.
Is that possible?
That's what people are asking about. How good a job, what's happening in.
But that's not the job of us, that's the job of the court system.
But the thing is law enforcement has nothing to do with convictions. That is the court system. We're the fact finders. We push that off to.
I don't disagree with that at all. I'm just telling you what my constituents wanna know. What people are remarking on is that what's happening in the country. Convicted people are being let out on the street. They just wanna know how how good is this system working? Maybe there's another way, maybe we have to get somebody else involved, but that's what people wanna know. What are the crimes? Did we catch them? What happened to them?
I mean, like I said.
That would, I hate to say this too, but I mean, we have a sizable police budget,
Mhm.
okay? People would more likely to understand and support that if they get what they want. That's my point.
I mean, with the new system, it's definitely easy to do two out of the three of those things. You know, the fact that
Then
crime,
help us-
for
Then
example.
help us find a way to get the third piece at some point. I mean, are these people just getting away with it, or is there some punishment being?
Would you like a
actually-
suggestion?
Yeah,
Contact the state's attorney and invite him.
well, that's what the other I'm not gonna relist my sources, but 2 or 3 people that are not locals tell me that's exactly what they do. They just call up and ask. And put it in the spreadsheet. That's what they do.
There's your answer.
Yeah, it's just, it's a little bit time consuming, but it can be done and it's not impossible.
No, it's not time consuming on your end. It may be on their end.
Well, you don't sit down and say, I'm gonna get 2 hours of chasing this. You got some, police officer's got some free time, and it's a case he worked on, and it's a case that he's interested in, and he's got a few minutes on,
We'll take a look at it.
on his, during his working hours, give a call. Just a thought.
So the last thing that, and this is something that I'm looking for your advice on as trustees, we received a grant for another speed display sign for the village, like the one we have on Grand Avenue near the school. That device is in, it's solar powered, needs to be mounted on a telephone pole. What I'm looking for is what street that you folks would like to see that display sign on.
You've got one on Spring right now.
No, well, it might be our temporary speed
is.
cart, but this would be permanent pole mounted. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, it can be moved, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to move. We would need the electric department to go over with a bucket truck, mount it on the pole. Unlike the one on Grand Avenue, we won't need to tie into the electrical system like we did there. This one's solar powered.
I like the one on Grand because it's near the school. Is there another place where there's a lot of children or something like that?
I mean, the streets that we kind of identified as the police department here in the village was either Spring Street or Canada Street as the 2 locations. I was kind of reluctant just to do it myself without, input from the trustees as to which street would be best to put that sign on.
I would say Canada Street. What's that?
Right by Mark's house.
I would say Canada Street.
Okay, we just have to find a pole that'll
Yep.
go on, okay.
I mean, we've got a couple of poles that we've identified on each of the streets that we think the device will work. We haven't talked to the electric company to see if it interferes with anything of theirs. So if you guys want it on Canada Street, we'll go forward and get that done. Cause the equipment's here. You just gotta.
You're talking on the stretch by the church, right?
Well, somewhere there.
That's where I find the hiding.
Where the street's narrow and where.
Yeah, somewhere in there is fine.
Yep.
I have no preference at all.
I don't think there's a need by my street in Gallup Court, but I will tell you this. To pull out of Gallup Court, turn left or right, people come down that hill from the cemetery,
Mhm.
Yeah,
like the game busters. And people pulling out of the gas station there. I'm surprised there's not a lot of skid marks on this street.
It's dangerous there.
But
Yeah,
it's not,
It
there's
hits
not
35
people
at the top of
walking,
the hill.
there's not a lot of kids. It's more important to be in the other areas, but
Speeding.
I would love you to set radar
No
up in
question.
that
You
street.
go that way also?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll move forward with Canada Street for that.
Cannon Street, yeah, okay. Good.
That was pretty much all I had, unless there's questions.
I'm good.
Everybody is.
Just a comment, and I'm sure the chief is aware, and don't know if you are, but since Chris brought the convictions, what's going on with his constituents are asking for. A fact, and I don't know the reason for this fact, but a fact is in the 6 stores that I own, Swanton is the highest theft by a long shot. I don't know
Wow.
the reason, but that counts. Champlain, New York, Milton, downtown Burlington, which downtown Burlington is usually the one that we talk about being the highest. But here in our village of Swanton, our store has the highest retail theft of any of our stores. So, just to put it in context of what we have going on here, I'm sure we're not the only. They're not just coming to Ace to steal. I'm sure they're coming everywhere to
Everywhere.
steal. And all our other stores have high. This is the worst year by far that we've seen in theft in any of our stores. I say this, and it's not even a joke now, that they're one step away from a shopping cart. They literally come in with a shopping cart. It used to be you would have a thief and you could be on them and they would know that you're on them and they would say, I'm gonna take my business elsewhere. But now they just wait. They know. We had one just today. We brought video up this afternoon to one of the officers where we followed the guy around and he just waited till he could make his move and he leaves. We have video of him. We have him entering the store. We have him stealing the product. And it's a problem everywhere. And it's a problem in all our stores, and it's a problem, I'm sure, in a lot of other retail stores in Vermont and everywhere, but certainly this just happens to be the worst, and I'm sure I'm not the only merchant that would probably tell you that they have an issue, so just to bring that to your forefront, not that you people can change it, but it's certainly a issue here and an issue everywhere.
So out of the ones that you've had, which ones have they caught?
I don't know that off the top of my head. Literally under our current system, it's a manual search. To literally looking up every one of them and seeing if they've been caught.
In the new system, would you be able to filter through Ace Hardware and be able to tell you that?
I'd be able to, yeah, the software does so much more. I mean, not that we can't be generated now, it's just, literally going through, reading, pulling up the involvements in each one of the cases to see who was done, just more of a time constraint. Compared to clicking a couple of buttons and having the report sitting right there for you.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty sad. Brand new store, small town, for the thieves that active in a little town like this.
Yeah, and they just get pushed from other places. I guess I don't know what they steal for. Some people steal to we caught the gentleman that was stealing big sawzall blades and his night job was stealing catalytic converters. So he came in to steal the blades to go at night to steal the
Cut off the catalytic
But
converters.
it's all across the board what they take and why they take it. I assume it's to sell.
Can you tell good if those are local people or people coming from other places?
they walk a lot, you know, they see them, they come in walking, and they usually go down the clean aisle, and then they end up in the tool aisle, and then back and forth, and that's, you can usually have a pretty good idea what the.
And I know one of the ones that hit here for you was also the one that hit your store in St. Albans.
Yeah, we had a double.
Did hit that store, then left from that store, came down here, hit this store.
They'll try to return stuff, they'll steal it, they'll try to return it in all the different stores. They're always one step ahead of what you can think of.
Okay,
I have one question, and it's a minor issue compared to what everyone else is talking about, and I know to some degree this is a zoning issue, but I'm wondering, it's the cars on 4th Street that are demolition derby junk cars, and there's 6 of them this morning, I counted, outside of what used to be Jimmy Robinson's property on Grand Avenue on the 4th Street side. Is there any way to get rid of those cars?
I mean, we can have a conversation with them to see when they're gonna get those cars out of there. But unfortunately, it's more of a zoning to push the issue, than anything else. But a lot of times just having a conversation will do it, and, you know, I can have that conversation tomorrow.
So the other, where the trailer was, most of those cars are gone. So this is a different person doing anything, not the.
Or it's just taking them time to get rid of them, you know, waiting for different prices of metal, who knows? I mean, I can have a conversation and actually have some facts to go with.
okay, moving right along, item number 9, sign loan RF 3-404-2 loan approval. Reg,
Oh,
is that for the bridge?
you have it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, I don't know what it is.
Oh, she said she did.
This is for the water line that goes up through the river.
Oh. Say that again?
It's for the water line that goes through the river.
Oh, the water line?
Oh, okay, so the Aldrich and Elliott's project?
Yes, the next phase of the engineering.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
well, that's not this one.
We just need a
For the water line that's on the bridge?
no, it's for the study for the, under the river water line.
It's the new,
Oh, for the
it's the
alternative
new
plan.
proposed line.
Yeah,
The alternative plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, the one, I think that's the one we voted on last, was it last meeting or the meeting before?
Yeah, probably. I'll make the motion that we, sign the RF 3-404-2.0 loan.
Second?
Should we be in the water commissioners meeting for this, or?
I don't know.
Already
I
have a
think
motion
so.
and a second. Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve the loan, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, okay, that motion is carried unanimously.
I didn't know what it was for either.
So we're all set on. That's the study for the line under the river?
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
it looks like 2 places for me, Lynn, and the rest for the trustees.
yeah, that's probably right. I haven't seen that document for a week or so, so.
Okay. Yeah, I think I figured it out. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
Sorry about the confusion. You know how my brain doesn't work. Okay, you wanna sign it now or after? You sign it after?
After.
Okay.
You wanna say something, Sandy?
Was just gonna say, Neil, wouldn't it be wonderful if while you're working on that water line under the bridge, it could be arranged to have the flower boxes watered.
From the water line.
From,
Yeah, so this
from
is,
the river.
this is under the river bore from Webster Terrace across to Foundry Street, and coming up Foundry Street and connecting to the other side. So this,
Oh, okay.
it's because of
It's
the,
not the big fat one that runs under the bridge.
no, it's,
No.
hopefully it's to replace that one.
It's to have that,
Pressure might be a little down too, right?
Yeah.
Water box, yeah.
it's to make sure we have more than one line.
Okay,
I've been after that for 12 years.
moving right along, I guess. Any other necessary business?
Well, it could be. Cool.
Just one thing.
Mark?
Notice that bridge is clinking again?
Yep,
Never repaired, is that?
I guess it's clunky.
Sounds like work.
Every axle that goes over it, I hear
I don't know
it.
if there's a plan to try it.
so the 20, so other necessary business, so, okay. So I can answer that if you want.
Yeah,
So
go
November
ahead.
22nd, we're gonna do another repair. We tried to weld because the metal's all rusted, it didn't hold obviously again.
Thought it was the 21st.
That lasted 2 days.
21st, okay, maybe it's the 21st.
No, see, that's when Dean asked for blue lights, so.
Okay, okay, it's one of those dates, 21st or 2nd. So we're gonna pull the plates off, we're gonna put some concrete in there, put some asphalt, and it's gonna be temporary until we'll have a bond vote in the spring. The repairs that need to be done, that's another thing we'll talk about. The repairs that need to be done are like $550,000. So, we had a structures grant that was given to us. So the engineer gave us a preliminary design for some of the work, so hopefully we'll get the work done in the spring.
If not, we're gonna shut it down.
Yep,
Amen.
Let all the trucks go through Route 2 down through the island.
There we go.
All the other traffic goes through your place.
Yeah, I'd be glad to go around the
They
BB
haven't
Road, to
finished
shut
that
that
bridge
bridge
yet.
down. Anyway,
what's that?
They've been
That's
working
another
on it
subject.
for 2-3 years.
Adam?
Yep. Received a request from the Boy Scouts. They just want to put a couple of their lawn sale signs up advertising for Boy Scouts and would like to put them in the park, maybe not on First Street end, but maybe one place in North End and South End. So,
Permanently, or?
huh? No, they're just the little, the little yard sale signs. They just want to put a couple up advertising so they can get some more Boy Scouts.
Okay, but not permanent.
Nope, nope,
Oh, they're looking for more scouts.
yes,
Sure.
Fine with me.
so,
There's a past scoutmaster, look for them.
okay. Just wanted to, any other updates on the relicensing? Are we still going full bore? No pun intended. No pun
Full
intended.
bore. So the agency is causing some issues and they're trying to wrap in the lower Swanton Dam with the relicensing.
They do know we'll vote to shut the bridge down if they do that.
Separate agency,
That's okay.
it's a separate agency, they don't care. But, yeah, they are trying to wrap in the lower Swanton Dam.
How can they do such a thing? It's different places.
They're claiming that that's the entire scope of the operations up above, and that's what we're proving that it isn't, so.
It wasn't the last time, how come it is this time?
How about all the other times before that?
Just can't make some of this stuff up, I'm telling you. The agency does not want dams in the state of Vermont. Their mission is to tear them all down.
But yet they reapprove Winooski and Essex and Burlington. What's that tell you?
I think it was prior, yeah.
It's
they
all
were
about
approved
Chittenden
prior to
County.
this.
Sorry,
That's all right.
I'll
I
get off
hear
my
you.
horse.
I hear you, I can say a lot
Yep, I
myself
hear
too,
you.
but it's just,
Yep,
it's like, yeah,
I'll turn my filter on. Thank you.
Well, like you say, you can't make it up.
Yep.
no.
And the only other couple things is, I know the Chamber's planning Halloween in the park. I'll get some more information at our next meeting for that, and Christmas in the park, same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Okay.
that's all I got.
Gene?
Just a couple of little things. I think tomorrow there's a vote at Highgate on the airport project. And I know that this won't hit the airwaves in time for the people to vote, but I obviously want to state that I support that, what they are proposing. And we have the capacity to supply the water and sewer for them, and I hope that everything goes very well for the project.
Amen.
Did anyone here attend the meeting last week?
Yeah, Neil and I did.
Did it go very well?
Seem to, yeah.
Yeah, there were some concerns, and I think the questions are answered, and
That's good.
there were some concerns that you could never answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have a new person at the hydro facility?
We are training them now.
Okay, that's good. And I noticed the very professional advertisements for police chief. Well, congratulations to those that wrote it. Done well. And we have a lot of applications, I assume? I
We
hope so.
have, I received 3 today. We got 3 local and 2 from New Jersey.
Very good.
Really? You did? Oh, okay.
Must have advertised down in the New York City paper.
I think the wind was blowing in the right direction, and they must have got the news.
I always put on the international associations.
Okay.
They know
Page.
we're the safest state to live when it comes to COVID.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Chris?
I was gonna ask about the police chief thing as well, and that's answered, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I just got a couple things.
Okay.
So the McFarland Johnson paper that you got in front of you, that is the engineering preliminary report to perform the work. I just needed to sign this contract to let them start doing their stuff. And you go, I think it's like 6 pages in, you'll see where they lay it out, the project review and site inspection, environmental permitting, and then they got the final design on the joint, for the finalized bridge joint design, finalized bridge bearing design, develop a traffic plan, prepare final plans, prepare construction cost estimates, and then special provisions and contract documents. So they go on and on and on, and for them to perform their work, they give us a not to exceed 74,316. So I just need your okay to, obviously the work needs to get done, but this will be part of the $175,000 structured grant they received from the state. But again, the estimate came in at $550. So we would most likely, if we don't see anything from the ARPA funds or this other infrastructure bill that they're trying to run through Congress now, we'll have to have a vote on doing the repairs. Otherwise, there's just no way this thing is gonna last.
So you need a motion for approval?
Yeah, a motion to allow me to sign to have him start doing this stuff.
So moved.
Seconded.
They were recommend, so these are one of the ones that do a lot of work for this, on state bridges too, so.
Okay. So the motion's been made and seconded to move forward with McFarland Johnson on the engineering for the bridge. Any more discussion, questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstentions, none, unanimously in favor.
Just
and-
one point, it would be nice if the trucks had a bypass, you know, our bridge would be beat to sleep.
Yeah,
Got it? Some
So-
people should stand on that bridge, see what it feels like when
Oh,
a
it's
big
true.
heavy truck goes over it.
I'm standing on that bridge. No
Unbelievable
way.
How much that moves.
Just water the flowers and the flower boxes on the bridge. And
so
Okay.
the abutments are in good shape, or not the abutments, but the piers are in good shape. The beams are in good shape, it's just the, both ends,
Yeah.
expansion joints and the bearings.
Expansion joints. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where you'd expect it, I think.
That's where all the flexing is.
They move.
Okay,
And then I got, so we talked about the speed sign where you locate it. We had our NEPA conference, we all went to that conference and it was very good. I think Neil got the award for Commissioner's Service Award. It was kinda nice to see from the Northeast Public Powers Authority. And there was a lot of conversations during those meetings about offshore wind being the next part of renewable energy. Small nuclear also came up quite a bit.
Portable nuclear
Yeah.
units, yeah.
And hydrogen, a lot, hydrogen-powered vehicles came up quite a bit. So yeah, a lot of innovative seminars.
I would make one comment. It was a very informative meeting, and it's very clear to me that in the next 10 to 20 years, there's going to have to be one hell of a lot of changes in how we produce power. And I feel good that we produce in a renewable way, and I don't think we'll be affected except for the power that we purchase. And it looks like the goal is in the next 20, 30 years is to have all of our power come from carbon-free sources.
Yeah.
And if we don't do it, we're
VEPS
gonna
is
pay a
looking at,
price.
I'm sorry, Gene. VEPS is looking now at battery storage as well as an alternative because,
That's a good idea.
you know, when you have wind and solar, they're not base load units. So when the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing, you gotta produce somehow. Which hydro, as long as the river's flowing, you've got electricity.
I think, you know, our dam and holding water back is sort of like a battery in a way. But there are times when you could produce and store. And I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
My point right along is the world's best battery is the water behind the dam.
I think it's a renewable one as well.
Yeah. So anyway, congratulations to you again, and it was a pretty
Thank
good
you.
conference.
Totally blindsided me.
Very welcome.
Reggie's good at that, blindsiding people.
I think you went.
In a positive way. Yes, it's a very informative conference. I mean, we haven't been for 2 years, but the speakers were excellent down there.
They were.
With the alternative energy generation that's in the works is unbelievable. And most of it's, well, they're trying for carbon free, but some of it, especially the hydrogen generators was a pretty complicated process. They had a fellow that really knew his chemistry, and it was a little confusing, but it sounds like it's very clean, and it produces water as it generates. So, but
It divides the hydrogen from water and also from the electricity.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
And also I know Chris was, and I was happy to see that they're at least entertaining nuclear generation, because the European countries are all using nuclear, and it's not, the nuclear of this day and age isn't the same as it was in the 60s, and it's pretty clean, and it's carbon free, but at least they're coming up with some new technology for that.
Newer ways to recycle the waste too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, and I was honored down in Portland to be called up on the stage to receive the award for the Commissioner of Community Service Award.
Distinguished service,
So,
yeah.
they did a really good job on it. And I wasn't the only one. There was a lot of deserving people that received awards down there. And it's New England, but it's kind of like the electric generation family. They're all good people, so I appreciate the award, so.
So just locally to our energy committee, that spun off from the town plan. We had a ride and drive program here.
Oh, yeah.
Which we had probably about a dozen people, and I got word from some of our local dealers that they actually had sales from from that program we had.
Right.
Right now, we're in the plans for another program for heat pumps for residential homes, and that should be coming up. I think it's the 28th. We'll set out a Zoom meeting as well for people to attend that, and we'll have Efficiency Vermont on board to talk about the heat pumps. And VEPSA, our joint action agency, also provides rebates as well as Efficiency Vermont. So the Efficiency Vermont rebates actually come out of your own rates anyway, the
Yeah.
EU charges, so,
No kidding.
so take advantage of that. And that's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
Reg, is that one of the ones that the electric one that you
Yeah.
brought down for us was really successful? Reggie was kind enough to make some copies and bring down rebate forms for us on the electric lawnmowers and electric blowers and trimmers that we've done quite well with and
Yeah.
sold a lot during that
And your
promotion.
chainsaws, but
And chainsaws.
I was too late. I couldn't get the rebate, but.
We can work it out.
Yeah. So within your store, I mean, with people from Swanton, they're also part of Vermont Electric Co-op and GMP. So they could get the rebates from their own utility, just not the ones I gave you. Those are strictly from Swanton Electric. So if they're Swanton Electric customers, they can get on the website for VEPSA and get those rebate forms. But if they're a GMP customer, they can go on GMP's site and get those as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was very successful.
So, question, Reg, or Gordon, whatever. I probably should know this, I think I do. That green space with the console in the center of it by Domies, is that the monitoring system for the underground?
That,
Yes,
that's it.
go ahead.
Talk about not being able to make stuff up. That's, we were doing our corrective action plan on the site because the memorial site was contaminated. So we had to do a phase 2 and a corrective action plan, cleaned what we needed to do to open the store and do the corrective action plan in the contaminant in the store. About when we were almost ready to pave, days before we were ready to pave, the gentleman that has installed that near Domies called. That is to do with the leak from across the street at the Brett Ford.
Yeah.
And I think SB Collins is probably the one driving that. So ours was done. They've been working on this for years and years and years, and then it came up they decided to do something. So we held off on paving while they got that in the ground, but I think it's tubes in the ground that actually.
Yeah.
Extract the vapors out of the
They
ground.
either extract the vapors out or push air in, but it's actually not to do with our site at all. It's to do with the.
Yeah, to get the gas stations across the street.
Yeah.
But instead of it working
Well,
concurrently at the time,
I had a place
we
on
did
the other
ours,
side too,
then
though,
they did
a long
theirs.
time ago.
Okay. Well, they finally cleaned it up and put some topsoil in there and seeded it.
That was, we did that. That was our agreement with Jeff that we would clean that curbing up. And when we made the new entrance, that we would clean the curbing up and plant grass. But this came up after, so they had a few issues with how it was set, so they had to do some more work on it. So it just never got to be where we could
Yeah.
do it. The guy assures us they're done now, so we planted grass and hopefully it grows. Yeah, it was looking pretty
Yeah, it looks
bad
much,
for a while, but I think it looks, overall looks better.
yeah, it looks much better now, so. Anyway, okay, I just wonder. Anything else? Under necessary business? Anybody want to say anything? Sandy?
Congratulations, Neil, and I want to thank you all for the work on the airport. When I read it, it makes me really proud of Reg and the rest of you folks who are doing that important work. That's so exciting. So thank you for that. And just a request maybe, and the same thing. It would be really nice if we could have joint legislative meetings again. They're the meetings that used to draw the biggest crowd, as I remember. So, that would be nice.
I heard it.
We have mentioned it.
Yeah.
I said my piece last week down at the beach. I'm not gonna say any more tonight.
Well, I know that some of the select board are interested in that. And anyway,
So just for clarification, the water line project, they called it the airport project, but it's actually the Highgates project. And it's for expansion of an industrial park that they've actually been planning forever. And part of the benefit will be to supply water and sewer to the airport. So it's more for the development of the industrial park.
thank you all.
You're welcome.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for the vote tomorrow, so.
Yeah.
Then
We'll
we'll
see.
plan after that, so. Okay, if there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to go into executive session. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, have a good evening.
To discuss personnel, all those in favor of that? Signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, so we're in executive session.